Can you imagine Christopher Biggins trapped down an alleyway, like shitting himself, and this fella's just going, what happens when they catch him? I said, they kill him. And he went, well, we can't do that. I said, well, not only because no one's done it yet. And they were like looking at us and said, is he fucking gone mad? That's an actor's life, isn't it? I haven't had work in 2 years. Oh, I've got a job. Oh, when am I off? Have you been in an accident lately in the car? You got a red car? And she went, no. And he went, I'm seeing a terribly mangled wreckage of a red car. Has your husband got a red car? No, he's got a red car. Do you know anyone with a red car? And she went, no. And he went, don't ever get a red car.
Yeah, those film schemes were fucking awful.
Yeah, well, I got a film made on it, but just about.
Oh, did you? On the back of...
When it first came out in 99, 2000, yeah, going off big time, yeah.
Did it actually get released?
Yeah, we got Fitzmaurice.
Really?
Yeah. Put it this way, it's on Amazon Prime now, and I'm not getting a penny out of it.
Are you not?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
So who was the rights to it then?
No royalties?
Fuck knows. I should have, because I wrote it over 15 years ago, but I don't know. Now there's no royalties, nothing. It was in Liverpool for about 16 months, continuously.
On the cinema.
On the cinema. We got like a 48, 50 cinema release around the country. So it did really well, but not for me, never.
And was it the same year as Lock, Stock?
It was just after Lock, Stock.
Yeah.
Well, the film was entered for four British Independent Film Awards, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I was up for Best Newcomer to Screen and all that, but it was the same year as fucking Billy Elliot won it. So he just danced his way across
to the stage, yeah.
Shit house. Jamie Belland, as he's known in our house.
So yeah, I mean, that was my first awareness of you. And it was like, I remember seeing a Granada Report thing. I was like, where have these come from? Because you didn't really hear of Scouse films getting made.
No, Letters to Brezhnev and Blonde Fist, I think, were the only two of that era in the 80s, late 80s. Well, we were 90s, sorry.
Frank Clark, really.
Frank Clark, they were, yeah. Well, Letters to Brezhnev did really well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Blonde Fist I don't think, did as well.
The Kirby Hollywood.
Yeah. Kirby Hollywood, yeah. I wrote a script. We shot the film, and I was sitting on a yacht in Cannes within 12 months.
Yeah.
Because filmmaking's never changed. If you've got the money, you can do it, innit? Yeah. It's all you need to pay for stuff. If you can't pay for stuff, you can't make a film.
Can't make a film, yeah.
So we just happened to get this influx of money.
What kind of budget were you working with?
We shot it on anamorphic lens, which is the big kind of Ben Hur cameras, because basically everyone was just taking all the camera stock that everyone else was using. Yeah. So when the director and the DOP went to Fuji, they said, we've got an anamorphic, which is this huge kind of 70 mil, isn't it? 90 mil, is it? Something crazy like that.
Super 35 anamorphic.
So, yeah. Which means that you have to have an anamorphic converter in the cinema to show it, but most of them have. So we greenlit the film on 90 grand. And we shot a feature, and I would imagine with all the posts and everything like that, it's probably £350,000
for a full-length feature.
Full-length feature, yeah.
On
film, which was I got a brilliant crits in Empire magazine, and it was called the new Tarantino in Empire magazine. Only they spelled Tarantino wrong and just completely messed up all that street cred.
It was a different Tarantino they were talking about.
Dave Tarantino was a sarnie shop on the corner. It was amazing for what it did. We ran out of money constantly on it.
When that ended and it was successful to everyone on the surface, how didn't you get another film straight away?
I don't know. Primarily because this country can't be arsed doing films. Certainly this part of the country can't be arsed doing films, and we have no real film. We're an amazing film company and country, but we don't seem to have any interest in trying to develop filmmakers. I got great crits, and I got a crit in Sight and Sound magazine that just said if this lad was American, he'd now be
different ball game.
He'd now be making features, and it was a weird line. The last line of the crit was something like, "As it is, he isn't, so he isn't." Something like that. So basically, it was me. We went to Cannes, and we had 2 screenings in Cannes. You sort of book out a cinema, and we had the Star Cinema in Cannes, which is a really old. It's a really beautiful kind of old-fashioned theatre in Cannes. It was a 75-seater cinema. And we had 2 showings of it. We had one on a Sunday and one on a Thursday. We were only there for a week, just over a week. And the Sunday one, about 12 people turned up, and these are buyers, these are, you know what I mean, film companies or the distributors or critics. So we were like, fucking hell. But then you've got your days then to try and hock it around, you know what I mean? And then word spread about it because the people who went to see it on the Sunday enjoyed it. So when we get started on the Thursday, there was 125 people trying to get in. We had to contravene the fire restrictions with people sitting on the floor. And that was when I thought, oh, this is going to be something. This is going to happen. And it went down a storm. Came home, and then it got the distribution stuff. But then, of course, I'm nothing to do with that production side of it. Me mate was at the time, and he took it down to London and just, in my opinion, just used it to kind of feather his own nest. You know what I mean? He used it as a calling card. Didn't really care about the film much. You know what I mean? Didn't really care about it. Wasn't asked. It was one of a couple of things he was going to do. Yeah. So, but then it ended with me and my brother Tony, who co-produced it. And we were in the British Independent Film Awards. It was the very sort of last hurrah for the film. And we were up in all these categories and we lost every one of them. So, and then it was literally just me and Tony in tuxedos sitting at this table in Café de Paris in London. And the one was hoovering. Couldn't have been more of a, do you mind getting off now? Moment, you know what I mean? Other than like the fella with the cat under his arm brushing his teeth in his pyjamas. So, and we had half a lager left, and I said, just let's fucking finish the lager. So we were looking at each other and we said, and for me, I didn't have an agent, you know what I mean? I didn't have any representation, nothing. And this was the big push for me. This was like, and I'd done it and nothing come out of it. Not like I hadn't done it. I'd done it and nothing had come out of it. And so we were just finishing our drinks, and I just heard from across the room this voice shouted, "Going off big time," which is the name of the film. And I turned around, it was an actress called Samantha Morton, who's a tremendous actress. She's Oscar nominated. And she come running over and she said, "Oh, I loved you." She's from Nottingham, and she grew up in the Nottingham care system, foster homes and stuff. She had a tough life, you know what I mean? And she said, "I loved your film." She said, "I voted for it." She was on the judging panel. She said, "I voted for it in every category." She said, "I loved it. It spoke to me and my upbringing." So I just got chatting to her, and she said, "What are you doing next?" And I said, "Nothing at all." But she couldn't believe. She was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I haven't even got an agent." So good on her. She just tore the top off a cigarette packet. She wrote her agent's phone number down, and she said, "Give them a ring tomorrow, and I'll have had a word with her." Now at the time I did have an agent, but she was a stand-up agent. She was brilliant. But I've always wanted to be an actor, so stand-up for me is always something I've done under duress a little bit. So this was my opportunity. Again, I suppose I'm saying nothing was coming out of the film. Nothing of the film, but I was co-writing Phoenix Nights with Peter Kay, so it wasn't like everything was done and dusted. But film, for me, was the England shirt, you know what I mean, so to speak.
Why?
Just love film, was brought up on film. Love the magic of film. I love the time it takes to make a film, and I love the quality of film. It's just one of those things. It's just, for me, it's the ultimate thing to do. You know, in films, you can shoot 2 scenes in a day, you know what I mean? Whereas telly, you're shooting 7 or 8 minutes, you know what I mean? And there's just something about the time and the artistry of film that I really loved, I've always loved. So that for me was the main thing. But so I came home, and then I phoned up this agent who was a woman called Nikki Van Gelder. And at the time, well, they still are massive. Conway Van Gelder Grant are a big agency. Jeremy Conway, who phoned it, he was the man responsible for saying to Anthony Hopkins, "I've got you a film here. I've got you the script. And if you lay off the ale, it'll change your life." Because at the time, he couldn't be insured. No insurance companies would back him, so he couldn't get him in the film. And he said, "Get clean, read the script," and it was Silence of the Lambs. So Jeremy Conway's a bit of a legend in the agency states, like. And I was suddenly phoning up Nikki Van Gelder, who talked like this. It was wonderful, sort of. I mean, the poshest person I've ever heard in my life. I was like, whoa! So she had this weird thing where she said, "Have you got anything I can see it in? Have you got anything like?" And I said, "Well, you're in Piccadilly, aren't you? You're in Jermyn Street, or whatever it's called." So she said to me, "Is there anything you're in, darling? Can you send me a tape?" And I said, "Well, I'm on the cinema around the corner." And she burst out laughing. She said, she's never had someone phone up for representation for who's already in a movie around the corner. So she took me on. So from the sort of embers of that night of thinking nothing was going to happen to the film, that it did something, you know what I mean? It formed a catalyst for for Nicky Van Gelder to represent me, and which got me quite a bit of work over the years, you know what I mean? And I'm no longer with her, but, you know, you phone people like that up and they say, oh, she's in LA with someone, can I help? And I'm like, any news on the chocolate buttons ad? Do you know what I mean? It all seems a bit naff, doesn't it? You know what I mean? But no, the film's the catalyst of it. It'll still be the proudest thing I've ever done. Like,
what's the timeline there? Then you mentioned Phoenix Nights was that right after or
simultaneous? Yeah. So we were writing. Going Off Big Time was already written, and then I started working with Peter, obviously on the stand-up circuit, and then I asked Peter to be in Going Off Big Time, which he is. He plays Flipper in Going Off Big Time. Yeah. So we were writing that. So I'd already written Going Off Big Time, but we were co-writing Phoenix Nights then, because Phoenix Nights came out in 2000.
Was that with Dave as well?
That was with Dave Spikey as well. Yeah, 3 of us wrote that. Yeah.
So how did all that came about at the same time? Because obviously the very different sort of genres from obviously Going Off Big Time to, you know,
yeah. Going Off Big Time was just my own venture really. That I wanted to write about. I wanted to write about gangsters that weren't very good at being gangsters. All the films out at the time, particularly Lock, Stock, it was all this kind of smooth, suave, suited, booted, jazz soundtrack kind of thing, you know what I mean? And I grew up in Anfield, but my brothers owned gyms. So over the years, I've met a lot of unsavoury characters, you call them. And I've always found them. I always found the hardest men I've ever met in my life to be the biggest daft gets, you know what I mean? Yeah, just like... And equally, you know, if the people you don't think are hard and will walk away and somebody will say, oh, yeah, he took a fella's eye out with a fork in a restaurant, you're like, all right, okay. Wouldn't have known that, to be honest. No. So I wanted to try and do a realistic gangster film, which was about it was about disorganised crime rather than organised crime. Yeah. And it was about sort of getting there and then it all falls to shit quite quick. So that's kind of what happens with Going Off Big Time. It's all quite accidental. He's a victim of circumstance sort of thing. And then but then alongside that, I was doing stand-up. So I got to the final of the BBC New Comedy Awards with Peter, and so we shared a place in Edinburgh, and then we just got chatting, got friendly with that, and then because Peter was going stratospheric then really. He did the final we got to the final of the New Comedy Awards, but I didn't place, it was only top 3. I didn't get top 3. I think Pete came second, but then he also won So You Think You're Funny, which is a Channel 4 competition in Edinburgh, and you get, as part of the prize of that, you get a half-hour comedy lab, it used to be called. So it was a one-off half-hour piece for Channel 4, and while we were up in Edinburgh, he was chatting to me and he said, do you want to write this little bit? He did a documentary about the A6, which is the longest A road in the UK. So it was about him just driving down, bonkers. But he said, he's just left a space open in it, and he said, do you want to write a couple of scenes for this? So I played a fella dressed in a lion costume, collecting money for cancer, while smoking on the phone to his ex-bird, saying, I've just being really rude while kids are waiting to put money in the machine. I wrote this little bit in the scene where his kids waiting to put 10 bob in the plastic container, and my pips go on the phone and I take the 10 bob off and put it in the phone. So anyway, that sort of started going along alongside it, and then Peter, this half-hour comedy lab went out and went really successful. And then Peter at the same time was with an agent called Phil McIntyre, who's a huge agent. And he negotiated a 6-part Channel 4 series. So we wrote these, they're called mockumentaries, aren't they? They're like a documentary called That Peter Kay Thing, which was 6 separate half-hour documentaries. One was The Ice Cream Man Hath Come, or The Ice Cream Man Cometh. He played an ice cream man driver, and one was the oldest paperboy in Bolton. So we did like 6 different ones. One was called In the Club, which was set in. It was called the Neptune Club, but basically would go on to be the Phoenix Club. Yeah. And that one, we won a British Comedy Award, which was right the blue. We didn't really expect we would.
Was that Channel 4?
It was Channel 4, yeah. But the British Comedy Awards are huge, you know what I mean? And we won. We won Best Comedy. So then we were sort of thrust into it then, you know what I mean? And then off the back of that, he got another commission, and we wrote Phoenix Nights off the back of that. I got to a real weird time in my life where people were phoning up my agency saying, like Hat Trick Productions and Avalon, and were phoning up saying, we want scripts off Neil. At the time, I was like, oh, can't be bothered. Ridiculous, isn't it? But I remember I went down to London, and I'd said to them all along, I've got no ideas. I haven't thought of anything yet. I'm still kind of riding on the back of Phoenix Nights. We're still I think we're writing the second series. And they were like, it doesn't matter, we just want to come up with some ideas. So in the lift on the way up, I think I thought of 2 of them. And I thought they were great ideas, right? I gave them 3 ideas. I pitched this to I think it was Hattrick. Anyway, so one was Big Brother, which was big at the time. But it was Big Brother, but all the contestants were prisoners, had been taken from jails in the country, and their crimes had ranged from non-payment of community tax to rape and murder.
So the Hunger Games then?
Sort of, but well, yeah, sort of. But they're all put in the Big Brother house. But the people watching don't know who's done what. So you're completely going on what you think of them at that time. You see
Comedy.
No, it's serious.
Just,
This was real. No, I was winding them up, but so it was like I just thought it'd be a great idea if you had some fella in the diary room with like loads of tats and that and fucking big beard going. Ronnie's not doing the washing up. He's not pulling his weight. You know all that shit, like. You know? And then the winner wins the amnesty. So whatever they've done, you might vote the fucking rape and murder. And they were like, okay. I'm thinking, fuck me. At any moment now, I'm going to say I'm only joking, but I didn't. My other one was a real version of the Running Man.
Oh yeah.
Do you know the Schwarzenegger? Yeah. So you build like a post-apocalyptic industrial thing. And so all the celebrities have got like chest cams, and they're terrified. They're running for their lives because people are after them. So I said, can you imagine Christopher Biggins trapped down an alleyway, like shitting himself, and this fella's just come. So they went, oh, and they were laughing. They said, well, what happens when they catch them? I said, they kill them. They for real kill them. And he went, well, we can't do that. I said, well, not only because no one's done it yet. I was really fighting my corner for it. And they were like, look at us, is he fucking gone mad? And my third one was you put a load of celebrities in a plane and you push them out. You basically ask them quiz questions, and if they don't, and that became a series.
With or without the parachute.
That became a series. And Cheryl out of Bucks Fizz fucking landed and broke an ankle. They pushed fucking that became a series.
No.
They asked them questions. They had parachutes, and then they jumped.
How high was the plane?
High enough at altitude. They pushed them out of a plane. Look it up. I shit you not. I remember watching it going.
That's
my idea.
What was it called?
Celebs pushed out of planes. I don't know. I don't know, but they did it. They did it. Cheryl Baker broke her ankle on landing. I couldn't believe. I was like, I mean, it might not be, but I told them about telling.
They will just rip an idea off like that.
Yeah.
Have you been able to use any like experiences from like your actual life in any of your writing?
Pretty much all of them, yeah. I think, yeah. I think that's where they got. Certainly with Phoenix Nights, because when I left school, I left school when you know it was the middle of Thatcher's. This city was in what was it called? Manageable decline. So I left school in mid-80s when there was nothing, smack. That's all there was, smack. So most of my mates were smackheads. Most of my mates were on the gear. So for a weekend, I used to go and follow my brothers. My brother was a light and sound engineer in the cabaret band. So I used to go around the country with them, watching cabaret. I loved it. That was great. But I also built up this back catalogue of what it's like in social clubs and working men's clubs around the country. So that's where a lot of the comedy of Phoenix Nights came from, was that I remember these were all pretty much based on real things, you know what I mean?
Did you create that Rave-On character?
I was just going to say, based on
something you'd seen?
I used to be, I used to be I got a job as a DJ's assistant. There was a guy in Anfield who had these, they were called Sky Discos. And he was great, man. He had a big comb over. He was just but he had the voice, you know, you'd get on the microphone and it would all be like that. It wasn't It wasn't 3:15, it was 15 after 3. So we used to go around doing the Provy Club and the Derry Club, which are big Protestant clubs. It was mad, man, because sometimes you'd be, particular times of the year, you'd be playing right in the middle doing a DJ set, and the doors of this club would open and they'd walk in with like an effigy of Charles I, whoever it is, and you'd have to stop the music under pain of death, like. And then they'd march you out to the car park and set fire to it. You'd be like, okay, back to Roxy music. fucking mad. And I've seen some great ones. I saw a stuttering DJ once. He was amazing, called Phil, and he used to. So he, and so he'd be on the mic and he'd go that, and he'd whistle because he must have been his therapy was when you to get you out. So he'd go, that was the that was the and everyone would be waiting like that, and then he'd finally get it out. Like, one time he was alongside me in the DJ thing, and somebody handed a door key. Somebody dropped the door keys on the dance floor, and I went, yeah, and he went, I'll do this, and I went, oh. Okay. She put the record on. Somebody, and it was literally just everyone like that watching him. Didn't know who he was. He'd never done it. And then he'll just turn around and started dancing. I put the music up and said, I'll do it. So all little bits like that. I always have this like eidetic memory for stuff like that. And
is that something you just pitch in a writer's room, or would you write them portions, or?
Yeah, so the way we wrote, we wrote the Pizza Cake thing via email. We never really got in the same room together. We wrote that, but then for Phoenix Nights we got together, and we wrote the first series of Phoenix Nights in 8 weeks. That's 6.5 hours in 8 weeks.
What's the actual process like to get something like that written out? Like, how do you get all your thoughts in one like constructive, road and if you're doing it in a room, if we were doing it now, we would act it all out. That's how me and Pete and Dave would do it. We would do them. We'd do, what are you talking about? You doing that? The fella comes in here and what if he did? And so we do it. You just sort of, and that way we were pouring it out. You'd normally take 3 months to write one episode. We wrote a series and we shot a second draft, so it wasn't like there were massive changes. We were just, which is the great shame about really how it all turned out really, because it was a really effective, really good quality writing team, and it's a shame because God knows what we'd have gone on to do. But so that was that process really. Clinton Baptiste, in one of the episodes of Phoenix Nights he's a psychic medium. I'm getting the word nonce. He basically does a night and he just upsets everyone in the room. And he does things like, is there a Jimmy in the room? There's like 500 people in the room. It was bound to be a Jimmy, you know what I mean? Like, so, he came about because I went and did some gigs in Dubai with Frankie Boyle and there was a third, Joe Enright, an Irish comic, Birmingham comic. And we were in Dubai and one night we went out with the guy who organised all these nights out, a fella called Duncan from Birmingham. And he come out and he started talking about what happened like a year previous. So basically he'd emigrated, if you like, to Dubai and set up this business doing entertainment for the expats because there's loads of them over there. And it was going really well. And then he'd heard about this psychic medium called Derek Acora, who's no longer with us. He's probably listening. And possessed by 2,000 ghosts and they all had a Scouse accent. So get out of my lighthouse. So he booked him. He booked Derek Acora and he sold it out. There's like 450 people in this room, and Derek Acora said, "I come with my own gear. If you've got a smoke machine, brilliant." He said, "But I create the ambience, So then he had this like voiceover. It was packed, and all this smoke come up on the stage, and this voice come over the tannoy. We had it in Phoenix Nights as hundreds of years ago. Man walked the earth, just like crap. hundreds of years ago, man walked the earth. Yeah. But his was like, in the land before time. That's good. It was this big deep voice, and it ended with him going like, "Please welcome to the stage, Derek Acora." And he walked through this wall of smoke in a fucking yellow Lyland Scott golfing jumper and a bubble perm. I went, all right, just fucking ruined it, you know what I mean? Just ruined all the effect. All right. So anyway, basically, this Duncan goes on to tell me the story that he nearly fucking bankrupted him because he was just insulting everyone in the room. And he went to a woman in the front row and he went, "All right, love." And he went, and he grabbed her hand and he went, "You haven't been well, have you, love?" And she went, and he went, "It's cancer, isn't it?" And she went, "Oh," and he went, walked away. This is what he was doing in the room. And then he went to sorry, love. Fucking woman in tears. And then he went to another woman, and this is how bad he was, right? He went to another woman, and he went to I'm getting a terrible accident. I'm getting some terrible. "Oh, have you been in an accident lately in the car?" And she went, "No." And he went, Have you got a car?" And she went, "Yeah." obvious. He went, is it a red car? Have you got a red car? And she went, no. And he went, I'm seeing a red car. I'm seeing a terribly, terribly mangled wreckage of a red car. I haven't got a red car. Has your husband got a red car? He's got a red car. Do you know anyone with a red car? And she went, no. And he went, don't ever get a red car. Boom, off. Next one, next victim. So when I heard this story, I brought it back and I said to Peter, there's something in this, because it's perfect for a club that has shit acts, you know what I mean?
I mean, that could be a whole series on its own.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like Alex Lowe, who played him, now tours it. He phoned me up and he said, can I tour? It's massive. So Clinton Baptiste is now massive on the circuit. He's doing huge. So it's my character, but I said, yeah, go for it, mate, because, you know, earn some money for your family, do you know what I mean? Now, this is how these weird things come about. The name Clinton Baptiste came about because of Hillsborough. Because after Hillsborough, I met a guy from Glasgow called George Crichton, which is one of the hardest names. Georgie Crichton. It's a name that was spawned in Glasgow. And Crichton, you know. And he was a big, hard fella, and he had marks on his hands with a fella that attacked him with a samurai sword after a stay behind. Oh, he's just a big, hard bastard like that, you know. And I was in a pub with him once, and he started talking about an Elvis act that he had, and I didn't know up to this point that he was. I just seen a big, hard Glaswegian. So he said, "Oh, I do Elvis." He said, "I do Elvis after the war, after the when he puts the weight on,
before the toilet and after the war."
Just before the toilet, with the big collars, and he's and there's a lad comes on before, does all
peak
the
Elvis,
young. That's peak Elvis. Elvis peak. And beforehand, there's a lad who does all like the slim kind of jailhouse rock stuff. He said, with a double act. And I went, well, I didn't know that. And as I'm drinking my lager, I said, what name do you go under? Georgie Crichton. What a name? He said, oh, don't use Georgie Crichton. So as I'm drinking my lager, I said, he said, my stage name's Clinton Baptiste. And I just burst out laughing because it was like the campus name. The campus most showbiz name for a big hard job. Yeah. And so this is how these things come about, you know. Yeah. The story of that gave me the name of the character. Because as soon as I heard Clinton Baptiste...
You thought that's, yeah.
Years later it was. Because that was in 89, 90. He didn't write it for another 10 years. Yeah. And then you go, oh, Clinton Baptiste, man, I remember that name.
You could get a whole series out of that, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And obviously, when you've seen all that stuff on the circuit, because you were going out with your Tony, weren't you?
Yeah.
And I've heard some of your Tony story from that stuff. That it's, you know.
We went to Ashworth Mental Hospital for a gig.
What, to do stand-up?
No, I didn't do stand-up, but the gig was a cabaret band, so there was a show band. And we went to where all the serial killers are. So
and how was that?
It was terrifying, I'll be honest with you. Because everyone who didn't walk around with a big bunch of keys was... So as a fella came in, I always remember that he looked like Mike out The Young Ones. Remember Mike with the suit on, the little fella? And he had this like really like 70s dodgy suit on. He was the MC. So he was the compere for the evening. So he was coming into the dressing room, he was going... He went, don't worry about these. He said, these are nuts, but there's plenty of staff in here, so don't worry about it. It's all fine. And he was reassured, and when he left, the fucking screw come in and said he raped and killed 2 kids. So what? My brother Peter, God rest his soul, he went with his mate, and he said, I'm not going down here. He said, so we went in a lighting box with this guy with the white lab coat on, doing all the lights. And about half an hour into the gig, he's pitch black in the eaves of this building, and this fella went, it's funny them letting you up here with me. He thought he got away with it. He went, what do you mean? You went to kill me mad, didn't I? He said, that was the most awkward fucking hour after that. But he was just like, kill me mad, didn't I? It's just, it was mad. There was I just didn't want to look around, you know what I mean? One fella, instead of clapping, was just smacking his head on the table. And then there was an act. So bear in mind, this is a 70s act when it was very, very un-PC. Very, very un-PC. And there was the drummer used to go up on stage and do an impression of Michael Jackson. Very un-PC. But as he went to do it, this guy stood up. Huge black guy stood up with a neck brace on. Like a neck brace when you're in a car crash and you're trying to fiddle. And you're walking around that thing. He had one of them on permanently, right? So, and he got up from his seat. And this drummer is looking, going, I'm doing a really un-PC, racist gag in front of this 6.5 foot black guy in a mental institution. And he started walking towards the stage, and he just got flanked. They didn't stop him. He got flanked by 2 guards, and so this fella's on the stage, and the black guy walked over to him. He had a denim jacket on, And he stood about, like, so he's up on the stage and he looked up like that to him. And we all thought, he's going to kill him. This is it. We'll never get out of here alive. I'll be talking to Clinton Baptiste next week via the... and the black guy just got his collars and he lifted his collars up on his denim jacket and he went, Elvis Presley, king of rock and roll. And the drummer went, certainly was. And he went, and sat back down. Oh, it was nuts. Absolutely mental. That's where you get all them stories from.
Yeah.
So what happened after Phoenix Nights? So you sort of done Phoenix. Did it come to a natural end, or was it?
It's one of them things where, looking back on it, it's sometimes you have to just kind of sacrifice your principles. I think, you know what I mean, for moving ahead.
Do you feel it was sort of too short? Phoenix Nights? I think I personally think it was.
I think
definitely another season.
Definitely another season. I think there was another season. I think so. Yeah. I think it was. You know, of its time, it was great, man. But I mean, of course, you can't write anything like that anymore.
No.
Before the woke brigade took over and stuff, and I think it had one more in it, definitely. But it was always I think there's a thing. There's an inevitability when you work with Pete that it's not going to last, because he's always wanting to move on and change and stuff like that. So, you know, we got. It was an amazing time. It was a great show, and I always look back on it fondly. You know what I mean? And I think it was kind of one of the last shows really where you could be. It's that old thing of comedy that really winds me up. That people say you can't say this, you can't say that. If the character is saying it is a loser and never wins, that's the principle of comedy. That's
Del Boy.
You know,
Would you have Del Boy now?
would you have Del Boy with half the things he says now? Because he loses, that's the point in it. Steptoe and Son, Rising Damp, Porridge. Yeah. It's all about the victim. The victim ultimately is the bloke who's saying, or the woman who's saying all the stupid things, because you're looking at them and going, oh, I never want to be you. But unfortunately, it's all been lost in the big woke blizzard, hasn't it? And people just say, no, you just can't say it for can't saying it's sake. And you go, well, God knows where comedy is now, where it's going to go, because I look at comedy now on TV and it's absolutely dire.
It's not funny, is it? It's not funny.
It's not funny at all. Too easily offended. You know, when you're trying to send these comedy shows and scripts, well, I don't. I haven't submitted a comedy script in a long time, but I know people who are, and they're getting notes back that
you're like, come on.
You don't even know where to begin with it. You know what I mean?
Is that something that's wrong with the whole broadcasting industry now, where you actually get notes? You just said you whacked out a whole season in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Was the rounds of notes off that? Was the committees reviewing it and going, or was it just, that's done now, let's do it?
No, I mean, no, was Channel 4 were a really good company to work for to do that kind of thing. I mean, no doubt we got notes back. Sometimes we used to put stuff in to get notes back for a laugh. There's a famous bit where Pete's on his stair lift and he's holding the girl's hand and he's going dead slow. He's taking her to bed. It's just taking ages because he's in the stair lift. And as he's going, oh, things I'm going to do to you. Up to. All me long now. And we had a third one we put in that was him going, oh, I bet it's dripping down your legs. Felt tip pen notes back. Can't say that. We're in trouble. But I think there is a huge kind of overbearing stuff now on writing stuff where...
It's not funny on TV as far as I'm concerned. I mean...
No, I don't think so. I think the funniest thing Brooklyn Nine-Nine's the funniest thing I've seen in years, man. It's stopped now, but it was so clever. It was so funny. But even that pushed the boundaries a bit.
The Yanks have got there's a culture of sitcoms, isn't it? Yeah. And there's always going to be, you know, they're always going to do it in that style where there's a mass writer's room and they can produce 22 episodes a season. Yeah. At best, we will watch 6 episodes, you know, in the heyday of British sitcoms. Yeah. And like you just mentioned there, Rise and Damp, you know, Porridge, brilliant shows.
It's quality,
but again, they were writers that were given carte blanche.
Yeah, they were, and established writers. Yeah, they're absolutely right. Yeah, they're absolutely right. And it's a shame, man. I don't know where it's going now. But it must be really difficult to try and write anything. Well, it clearly is, because everything I'm seeing in telly is just. It's just dross, isn't it?
What do you say the best production that you've been a part of is?
Well, that depends, really, I guess. I did a thing many years ago called Buried with Lenny James. And it was set in a prison. And it was World Productions. And they built it was £250,000 prison wing they built. They had a gym in it and it was phenomenal. And it was really, really it was just a really tough drama. And it was they did a thing called shooting it down the line, which is they didn't set up. They used to just put cameras in places in the room. You wouldn't know what it was really till you rehearsed it. But then they never moved it, so you just played around the camera. It was like theatre. It was really cleverly done. And also they integrated a load of real prisoners in with you, so you weren't really sure who was who. Yeah.
Sort of nicked your idea, I think.
Yeah. And also, and then we'd arrive in the morning in the dark and we'd get out in the dark. It was just the way it was done was really, really cleverly done, you know, and it was a great piece of work as well. Got nominated for a BAFTA. Did it win a BAFTA? It might have even won a BAFTA.
It's called Buried.
It's called Buried. Lenny James, myself, Stephen Walters, Conor McIntyre. And then you'll see people in it and go, Steve Everts, who's now in Brassic, he's in it. It introduced a lot of people to the business, like, but it was just tough. It was a tough, uncompromising. And Mark, I can't think of his name now. A guy took over Channel 4 and ditched it in favour of a fly on the wall hidden camera in a salon in the Trocadero, and ditched a BAFTA winning drama series, yeah. But that was brilliant, that quality. But I suppose it all depends on what you mean by production. I mean, I'm most proud of going off Big Time, because it was a blank page, you know what I mean? And when you get to a cinema watching people laughing at all the bits they should be laughing at and enjoying it, and then you think, fuck me, you know, I wrote that. You know, you can't really beat that, you know what I mean? And then I suppose the success, so I suppose Phoenix Nights was hugely successful. Peep Show has been hugely successful as well, although I was only really a bit part in that. But I've had my career thus far has gone really well.
Do you prefer to act, or do you prefer to write, or do you prefer to both? What's your preference?
See, I've always said I'd act for nothing. You'd have to pay me to do the other things. Yeah. So I want to get back into writing. I actually love writing. I love it, and there's something really cathartic about it. And you get really excited, and you come in and you talk to the missus about a scene you've done, and she ignores you because she doesn't understand what you're talking about. And I love it. I'm quite lazy. You know, I've done.
You've been really disciplined to do it, haven't you? And it's
really
it's a tough thing.
I remember I was writing an episode of Benidorm, and we had a caravan in Wales, and I was in the caravan in Wales, and I phoned up another writer, a friend of ours, Sarah Hooper, who wrote Mount Pleasant. And she said, "Are you stuck?" And I went, "I'm not stuck so much." She said, "Well, put it this way, I'm shampooing my eyebrows." That's what I was doing. That was good. I think I'd gone to the toilet and I was looking in the mirror and I did a bit unruly. That's when you know you can't be asked right. You're shampooing your eyebrows. Shampooing your eyebrows. Well, that's a good. I think I'll blow them. But no, I love writing and I should do more. I've got lots of little things out. But I think, do you know what? I think I'm a little bit beaten by the climate at the moment, and just the market and just what you can do.
I've read a script of yours, the sitcom you wrote in the cul-de-sac with the card school.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
think
it's got legs, that, hasn't it?
Yeah, I just don't think, from a filmmaker's point of view, I'd love to make that, but I just don't think it would hit TV.
No, that's the thing, isn't it? And I think it's the subject's great. Here's the thing, you know. Ricky Gervais shot a pilot of The Office and gave it to the BBC because the BBC had ditched it beforehand. And I think we are very much now, if you go to them, there it is. It's been shot. This is the tone.
They've got to physically see it.
And
that's why mostly now all features, they all have shorts now, because they can't physically sort of mentally get their head around what the vision is that you've got, and they need to sort of test it.
And I think as the generations have gone on, I think there's people in commissioning roles who've got no idea. And I think I still believe that if you shot Full House, the thing I wrote, because of the market for that, and because of that claustrophobia, it's funny enough sitting around a table like this with the lights and the smoke going through the...
Show it first, do the pilot.
Yeah. You know, me and Dave wrote a thing called Glitterball as well, which did the rounds, which is about ballroom dancing, and that went to ITV and went to BBC, and then it's almost like sometimes, I know this sounds like just the kind of thing that someone would say, but I feel like sometimes they're looking so much for stuff to put wrong with it.
Yeah, they're looking for a reason not to. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. And then you get a load of notes off one, and you end up sort of changing it, and then they go, well, what about this? And you go, well, that's what it was like before I changed it. You know, it's such a weird...
You should do it, Neil. I'll tell you why you should do it, because if you think about your mates in the industry, you know, the actor friends you could call upon, because, you know, you've worked with some of the best, haven't you? You've worked, you know, you could go to your little address book and go, you know, cast it yourself, shoot a pilot, just do it.
I think it's definitely something I'm going to look at. Obviously now, because I'm very much committed to Waterloo Road, which is the job I'm doing at the moment, which I love doing. It's fun, and it's work, and the you know, work out there is it's always been a dodgy business, acting.
Yeah.
But it's getting dodgier and dodgier. You know what I mean? In a sense that just, you know, the climate and the way things are, it's getting really difficult to get any work. So I think when I'm not doing that now. When I'm not doing that, I might sit down there. I probably should do it while I'm doing it, but I haven't given up on trying to get stuff made.
Josh looks after a few actors, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Tell us about how the politics of the call sheet in terms of your ranking on there, because you hear some, it's a bit touchy, like, no, I'm not being number 3. I have to be number...
Yeah, I mean, you know what, that's... I don't understand it. So all you look at a call sheet for is to find out when you're off. I'm joking. That's an actor's life, isn't it? I haven't had work in 2 years. Oh, I've got a job. Oh, when am I off? You know what? If as far as I'm concerned, if you think that being hired on a call sheet than someone else is important, then you have no right to be on a set. Tell your clients that. Because if you've got clients that want to be hired on a call sheet, then boy, their priorities are way out of whack. You know what I mean? Crazy that.
It's crazy.
You're right though, because that's the thing. Like, you know, I mean, obviously there are things like, but it's prevalent. There's no doubt about it. There's loads of massive egos out there. I don't care what number on a call sheet I'm on, as long as I'm on it.
As long as I want it, yeah.
But then you know, my agents, your agent will phone you up and go, all right, I've been negotiating for 3 weeks, and I've got it. You've got a separate card, boom, separate credit, bang, and I'm like, yay. Because I don't really care.
You're not bothered,
But that's really important to agents, because that's their battle. That's what they do, and that's really important they do that. But yeah, there are people out there who really do care how they are on it. But I couldn't give a toss. I'm number 5 on the call sheet now. I started 9, went to 7. I wanted to keep it 7 because it's Kenny Dalglish's shirt number. That's all I care about, you know what I mean? So it's
well, it's not number 9.
It's not number 9, yeah.
Is there anything you've passed up on that you kind of look back and say, oh, do you know what, that was a missed opportunity?
Star Wars. Joking.
Hey, you've read for some big uns though, where you used to come to our office with, was it with the Marvel script you had?
The Hobbit.
That's right, yeah.
The Hobbit?
The
first one?
Yeah, read the Martin Freeman one, yeah. Yeah, you know, every now and again you get some biggies to come in, kind of thing. I don't think I can honestly say I've had to turn work away because another job wouldn't let me, which is really annoying. Really annoying. I had an audition for a soap which will remain nameless, and I got down to the last 2 or 3 for this contract for the soap, and in the meantime, I got a BBC, an Irish. It was BBC Ireland, but it was broadcast BBC One. And it was to play a detective in a murder thing, and they're my bag. I'd love to do something like that, playing a detective. And I got this role, and it was really good drama. And the fucking idiots that had me on down to the last 3 for this part wouldn't release me. And so my agent said, well, has he got the part with you then? They went, well, we haven't decided yet. So I lost that job, and then they ditched me on that. Oh. So that's the kind of stuff that just goes, don't do that to me. That's bullshit. I'll never go back to it. I'll never even audition for them again. So I've had that, and that's really annoying, because it's one thing for you to have to make the decision. When it's made for you, it really pisses you off, because at least you can kind of...
And I think as well, a lot of these situations are outside your control. You can only do so much, can't you? And people forget, it's like, ultimately you're a business. It's you. That's like, you're an individual. You got to pay your bills. Got to pay for your family. And people forget that they're playing with people's lives. And,
absolutely.
They become very one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it at the moment. I'm under contract for one job, and hopefully what happens is then your agent talks to their casting and their production and says, look, can you bend them a few days to do this? And then the production that you're going to do will hopefully put it all on the one call sheet, you know what I mean? And say, well, we're going to shoot all the interiors on one day, so hopefully we're only having... And they can bat and ball it between them, and usually it works out, which is hopefully what I'm going to be doing in January on something. But yeah, that's...
And in terms of what Andy just said there, for those that don't know, do you run it like a business? So Neil Fitzmaurice, the actor, is that like a company, and how does it... Because if you're an up-and-coming actor, you're going to want to know, how do you get to that point where, you know, you're paying your tax and you know, you're doing all of them things legitimately.
Well, you can't. I mean, as an actor, you can't form your own company and pay yourself that way. I've got my own company, but mine's more to do with the writing side of things, and also ideas and stuff that I submit to the storylines of the show. But from an actor's point of view, it's one of those things, acting, where it's not a particularly good thing for tax anyway. It's a bit crap, really, because you can't really claim that much back. That's the only problem as an actor. You can claim, you know, print and ink and the odd
pennies on the pound, basically.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's
your bus fare to your audition.
It's a tricky one. It's all that kind of stuff, isn't it?
And most of it's expensed anyway from when you're quite high up on the call sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all your photographs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's.
But it's a difficult industry, and you know, acting I think is genuinely probably one of the hardest ones out there, especially when you know it can be, you know, you can be up and down one year to the next. One year can be amazing. Next year
that's
can't
why
be.
I always look back on mine, and you know, obviously I've still got a fair few left in me, but you know, there's times when you go, I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that, and I wish this had happened, I wish that had happened. But I always remind myself that I've spent pretty much all of my adult life as a father at home. Watch my kids grow up. I've got a really strong relationship with my wife. I know a lot of people who don't get that balance right. No. Stephen Graham is incredible at it. Stephen's got a wonderful kind of family network. Hannah is in the same business as him. He's got lovely kids. And I've done a few jobs with Stephen, and you walk in the makeup room in the morning and he's FaceTiming his kids pretty much every morning. He's got that really, really good balance for someone who works as much as Stephen. I have to admire him for that. I've always it's one of the ones where you go, good lads, he's a good kid for that, you know what I mean? Top actor. Brilliant actor, and he's got that family balance. He's really close to his kids. I know a lot of people who have done really, really well don't see the kids, don't see the wives, divorced, and I think a lot of people are so determined to get there that they'll just elbow anything out the way. I would never, ever, ever have done that. Sure, I'd love to be doing movies, but I'm happy. I've had a really, really, so far, touch wood, a really, really good career, I think.
When did you know that you had legs in this? Like, when could you finally like pop your chest out a bit and be like, no, actually, I can make it in this?
I don't know, you know, it's a tricky one because it's always a great level at acting.
Yeah.
Because I'll still go to auditions and sit in a room full of people and the casting director doesn't know who I am, the director doesn't know who I am. There are only levels you get to. I think that's an internal thing. That I think probably going off big time. I think walking in the back of a cinema and hearing a full house laughing at scenes you've written and stuff, that makes you feel. Probably one of my best memories though is my mum and dad walking in. You know, with all we had a screen in the showcase, and there was like 350 people outside, with barriers and these big gobos in the sky flashing. And I mean, mum and dad getting out of a limo, and that's the stuff I get out of. Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson came to it. Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson was so we had a screening in the showcase, and we had a microphone set up before the screening started because a lot of the investors were there, and the distributors were there. So you get up and you say thank you for the investors and the distributors, and thanks for everyone for chipping in, and then as I'm talking, I just seen this figure come down the middle aisle with like a drink and a popcorn. And as I was talking, and he shouted like, "Go Fitzy!" or something like that. And I went, I fucking know what it was. And anyway, we settled down to watch the film, and my mate went, that's Samuel L. Jackson. I went, get the fuck. So what had happened was he'd come to do 51st State, which is and he hadn't started filming it, but he was over in Liverpool, and he'd been invited, obviously, with his agent and stuff, to come and see this film. And that was surreal, man, because I got to speak to him at the end at the wrap party, and he loved it. He really enjoyed the film. He was a lovely guy. Unfortunately, the only photographs taken, and I don't know why, the only photographs taken of me and Samuel L. Jackson's talking, and I'm going. And I'm like, well, what was that? I don't even remember being a fanboy like that. Can't use any of them. But, you know, so stuff like that, that's when you go, I've made a bit of a ripple here, you know what I mean? But then the next week you're fucking missing a train to go to fucking Camden to do an audition. It's one of them, and it's...
You've done a fair bit of stage stuff as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done a
So you get that kind of buzz from having I seen you in, was it On the Ledge?
Yeah.
That was you and Drew Schofield.
Drew Schofield, yeah. It was Alan Bleasdale, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great play. Yeah.
Good play, wasn't it? Set on the top of a.
You two were hilarious.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good show, that man. I mean, that's set on the top of a block of flats, so it's most of the action's played 45 feet, 50 foot in the air. You have to have harnesses, and the audience are all looking up at you. You know what I mean?
Did you play the?
I played like a
landlord.
I played like a politician, local politician, landlord.
Was it based on like a Derek Hatton type
of character? Yeah.
And Drew played. Was he the fireman or something like that?
Drew was a fireman, and Drew comes out the ground in a cherry picker, a real cherry picker. Beep, beep, and goes right dead up behind, does scenes with me. But that was in the Royal Court, and the Royal Court is this phenomenal kind of one-off theatre experience that we've got in Liverpool now. A real, it's not supposed to be interactive, but it is very interactive. I mean, for instance, doing On the Ledge, there's the start of the second half, or there's a scene that I'm in with Drew, and Drew comes up to go, and he's basically, I've given him a load of money, a load of money to keep his mouth shut, and he's just throwing it at this cherry picker. And as the obviously fucking black £10 notes are floating, the guys are just getting up at the crowd, walking down, picking it up, and just going, the black cherry! While we're doing the scene, you know what I mean? So and they'd shout out character names if you're in Brookside. They go ahead, Lewis, or whatever his name is. Mick, go ahead, Mick. It's really bizarre. It's a really bizarre kind of. But I love theatre, but it's never been my main.
No.
I was just brought up on film and TV.
Because I know Drew. He's brilliant on stage, but he's brilliant on screen as well. He doesn't do much, and I think he's quite jaded with the thing you describe, and the going to London, the doing the auditions. It's hard, isn't it? You don't. It's
the sight you don't see. And Drew Schofield is, and still remains, probably one of my favourite actors. I mean, he's an extraordinary actor. Yeah. I mean, effortless. Well, it's not effortless because there's a lot of effort there, but he's an incredible actor. And if you've seen Sid and Nancy, you don't even know it's him till halfway through the film, and you realise he's just everything he's done. He's one of a few actors, Drew, that when we were doing On the Ledge, other actors would come from the dressing rooms and just watch his scenes, and that says a lot about what he is. He's a very, very powerful, so unassuming, funny, but an incredible actor, like Andy. And do you know what? A couple of months ago, I went to London with my wife for her birthday, and I haven't been to London in years. What with COVID and before that, But I had 20 years of trains. Sometimes I'd have to get 3 trains a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, down to London and back, and a lot of money, a lot of expense. And I went back with Angie, and the moment we got to Euston Station, I could see her getting anxious, and she said, "I don't like this," and I thought, oh my God, I put up with this for 20 years. We got on a tube, and everyone's like
hustling back.
And I had to keep hold of her, and she said, "How did you cope with it? How did you?" And I thought, that was the first time I remember thinking, how did I cope with this? Because I can feel it. Yeah. I can feel that vibe of.
And then you got to go into an audition, and
then you've got to go into an audition, usually sweating and things in front of you. You've got 2 goes. There you go. Thanks. I did an audition once I did a callback for a very famous kind of Hollywood actor, and the rudest, didn't even look up. He didn't even look up. Didn't even look at me. I did it once, and he went again. Did it again, he went, cheers. I just went, fuck me, man.
Tough gig.
Took me 2.5 hours, 3 hours from my house to London. Half an hour to get here, and it'll 6.5 hours that. To have some shit house not even look up at me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and never hear from them again.
And not even have the decency to go, thanks for coming. Yeah, so that's why it's always the great leveler, you know what I mean?
Was it Barbara Streisand?
Hey, Bob.
It was unfortunate. It was one of the cast of Spinal Tap.
Oh no.
Yeah, man. Yeah, nah, it's audible. Yeah. I phoned my agent. Came outside and phoned my agent. And went, that was like a fast food. That was like drive-through casting. Yeah, it was extraordinary. Yeah, it was horrible piece of crap. But that's I've done auditions where I always remember doing an audition for a very famous casting director, huge casting director, and he had the camera set up on a tripod. He was really nice. Hi Neil, how are you? And yeah. And I'd prepared this thing, and so I was starting him, acting my little socks off, And then I looked up, and he'd left the camera. Probably won't work on that. He'd left the camera, and he was just looking at the blinds. And I looked and I went, and I think it stopped, you know, I think it stopped. Really weird times. I remember at 9/11, I was auditioning the day of 9/11, and I got to the place we were auditioning, there was people just watching TV screens, but they still wanted to carry on the casting. And there was a television in the background while I was casting. I just felt something like peak practice or something, some ITV doctor show. And Shortland Street. Bloody hell, mate. That was New Zealand, wasn't it? Great show. And while I was reading, one of the towers came down in the background, and I just stopped and said, I can't do this. What am I doing? You know, this isn't that important, you know what I mean? I remember the woman ended up crying, the woman was casting. I think because the telly was behind her. All weird letters. But I spent years and years and years and years going down. I was on the...
Is it changed now with the tapes and stuff? Is it more tapes now?
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, COVID's had that lasting effect all around the world, doesn't it? When no one really wants to contact any human beings anymore. And there are pros and cons to that, as you lads know. These lads have helped me so many times with casting tapes because I don't audition very well. I never have. It's weird. I don't feel like personally I audition very well. I get very nervous still. Something I can't get shut off.
What about over tape?
No, tapes are much better for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because you get to do it again and again. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't get that thing of them going, okay, thank you very much.
Or looking out the blind.
Whereas with these lads, I mean, the job I've got now, I got through casting with these lads. And you did it really, and you've got that lovely thing of like cutting and putting.
Did you get a commission?
Yeah.
Josh's question before, I know the answer to what's his best moment. It was when he when all them other celebrities on Celebrity Mastermind shit the bed.
That was amazing, wasn't it? Do you know what? I did Celebrity Mastermind, right?
De Niro won it.
I did my specialist subject was Robert De Niro films. Go on. So they give you a list they give you like 15 films of Robert De Niro's and you've got to try and pick them apart and stuff. Mastermind was invented, the concept was invented by a prisoner of war, a British prisoner of war. And it's based on interrogation techniques. So you get there, the lights go down, you crap your pants, because you think you're going to fall over before you get to the chair. So I sat down and I had an absolute stinker. Well, he did also mention, he put about 3 questions in that weren't in them films. But I got like 6 or something, 5 or 6 in the first round. I was like gutted. And I walked back to my chair and the audience are right behind you. And as I sat down in my chair, my missus quite clearly went, oh. And I went... But then got to the general knowledge in the second round and how many? I got about 11 or 12. And Johnny Ball failed. Had to put their hands up and get some. Anyway, but I got to the end. I won. So one day I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. Every now and again when I'm talking to my kids, and I'll just go.
Going to the mastermind.
Say no more.
When you've got yours,
Give me a shout.
Yeah. Until then.
No, and also you know what? I loved the Rafa thing as well. That was good. The Rafa Benitez.
Oh yeah,
Because I tell you why. Because I wasn't going to do it, and I didn't want to do it, and it was a real. I was doing Peep Show at the time, and my brother kept phoning me saying, "Please do it, Neil." Dave Kirby had took me for the coffee and said, "Will you do it?" And I just thought,
that was the first time we worked together, wasn't it? Properly.
I think it was. Yeah. You UTP'd it, didn't you? I think it was because I'm such a diehard Liverpool fan that I thought, if you get that wrong, you're walking in a match and someone's going, "You dickhead, you fucking hell." So I just thought, I can't do it. There's pressure's on too much. But in the end, because Tony just said, "Please." So I was on the train home on the Monday, and on the Tuesday we started filming it, didn't we? And I had to, and I thought, I'm never going to pull this off. But then, the day I got there, I put the clothes on and I got the glasses. And even though he wasn't wearing glasses at the time, and I just felt like him. I felt like I could do this and pull it off.
The goatee on.
A little goatee. But what it was is I've always noticed he had dead short arms. He's got really short arms. Thing he always seemed to like. Don't know why. But
Sleeves are always let down.
Yeah. But I guess when I got the skinheads and the glasses on, and we pulled it off, didn't we? We pulled it off, man.
We had a ball, dude.
Yeah, we had a right. And I'd said to the director, Illy, do us a favour, Illy, I don't want anyone in the room because I'm not 100% confident I'm going to pull it off.
I was watching you. I think it was just me and you because I was trying to get the focus on. You were doing the scene in the mirror, and you were just working it out. And I was watching you getting the accent, and actually processing it.
Yeah, because I didn't really have much time to do it either. And there was Spanish to do as well. But then when we were shooting the film, when we were shooting a bit in the dressing room, I walked out. There was about 70 people in the room, and I wanted a close set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Carragher and Gerard.
Gerard was never. I think Carragher wasn't. Didier Man wasn't he?
So did it go down pretty well?
It went down really well. Yeah, it went down really well. We had a big screening of it, didn't we, and stuff. Yeah, all I ever wanted to do was kind of.
Did you nail the accent or it?
Yeah, it was all right.
You know what I'm asking for, don't you?
Oh, I'm not going to do
it.
Yeah,
you're not going to do it.
I have. Do you know why? Because
I've got about 4 million views on YouTube.
Do you know why? It's because I'm not an impressionist. So, I always, when people would say, "Give us your," because for a while I'd say, "What would Rafa say in the circumstances?" I go, "I don't know."
I've still got all the outtakes.
Yeah, have you, mate? Yeah. It was good fun. It was good. So they're kind of things where they're personal things that you pull off and you go, well, I'm glad I did that in the end. Because it was a little measure of doing that,
What's it been like trying to raise funds to put kind of your own productions together?
That's the killer, really. That's the one that's what really beats you down, trying to raise the money. We don't want a lot of money, you know what I mean? We could even now, with the resources we got here, with Nutty and with Kev and with Ian, people who've made films and done this stuff for years and years and know how to do it. And
if only we knew someone who raised finance.
This is it.
Well, I know of someone.
Let's make that sitcom happen.
I mean, let's do a movie. Let's do something that's... And it wouldn't even be terror amounts of money either. Yeah. We shot... the second feature film we shot, Charlie Node's R.I.P., we shot on less than the catering budget on Harry Potter.
How big was the catering budget on Harry Potter?
Big.
I can imagine.
But realistically, like less than 500 grand we shot both movies on less than 500 grand because ultimately it's about, if you chuck it all down the lens and you got the talented people to do it, you can do it, you know what I mean? And that's what frustrates me. That's what's really kind of beating me a little bit, is the
it is, and it's really difficult out there as well, and there's a lot of people trying to do it and there's not that many resources around.
If it's not being done by one of the big houses, then
that's the thing.
And they won't guarantee returns on it.
The key now is it's becoming even harder. Charlie Node's, the second film we wrote on a much tighter budget and going off big time, believe it or not. But we wrote to, we sent it to the Odeon chain, and we already had it on one screen in Liverpool or somewhere. Anyway. But the Odeon gave us 18 screens in the end. We put on 18 screens around the country. So we self-produced, self-wrote, self-shot a movie and got it distributed around the country, which is huge. But, it's huge, but it's not... It's a great thing that you've done, but whether or not that forwards anything else you're going to do it's so much harder now. I mean, if you look at the way film is now as well, and film and cinema releases, it's 6 months is Star Wars and 6 months is Marvel, and then you've got no chance. Independent cinemas... There are a few cares and do a great job and stuff. There are a few independent cinemas, but that's become more difficult now. That's the
Don't get me wrong, those two franchises are doing their very best to destroy them. But
yes, they are. They absolutely are.
The absolute best.
How much is too much? That much.
Yeah.
Man, terrible.
Is the industry, I've heard this a little bit, and it's my opinion, is the industry suffering from, it's like there's not enough working class in it, is like, from my memory, when the industry started, there was a lot of working class crew. It's almost like where pop music's gone. It's not just woke. It's like you can't get into the industry if you haven't got enough money to be it as an amateur. To be a hobbyist. To fund
yourself. To fund your move. Yeah.
I think them days are gone. You couldn't. When I first started, you could kind of get your mates together, do a little bit. It just feels like the industry's become very, very middle to upper class.
I think certainly from the acting point of view, it has definitely. That's been championed for quite a while, hasn't it? There's a lot of British actors and actresses who you go, oh right, they went to Eton, oh they went to Harrow, oh they went to...
And they've all got a certain sort of background.
They've all got a very similar background and stuff like that.
And they'll go on to,
But then, you do also get you Stephen Grahams of the world as well. Actually, what I'm doing at the moment, Waterloo Road, the company who are doing that, which is Wall to Wall Productions, they're doing a great thing at the moment. Well, they have done all the way since we started filming it, nearly 3 years ago now. They do training courses, so there's constantly training crew. My son Josh has taken part in it as well, as a camera department. So that's great to see, because they're taking on trainees, and they're really committed to trying to get working class young kids involved in the industry, which is brilliant. That's more should do that, you know what I mean? But I think you're right, it's so difficult now. It's so difficult, as my son's finding, you know what I mean? It's difficult to try and what you do. You get yourself a list.
It's such a close shop as well, especially when you get into big productions. It's like, you know, everyone takes the same people around. It's they're used to work, especially
And even in the other side of it, like the documentary stuff, the first thing the broadcaster asking is who's in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who's in it?
Oh yeah.
Like, well,
it's all, but like you said before, the easier it is to sell. They want the money back before they give it. Basically, they want guarantees that they're gonna recoup, you know, and
gone are the days of the film schemes, sadly.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I wish sometimes, you know, the way the French used to do it, where they'd put like a penny in extra tax, and it would fund the film industry and stuff. I wish the film industry in this country was funded better, or funded. But you know, it's a bit good. Unfortunately, film is not a pretty good. It's not a particularly attractive investment. That's the problem, isn't it? Because
this is the risk is the problem. You get people who do it because they love it, and they want to see they want to be involved in it.
Find me an eccentric millionaire.
Yeah, that's it. Or you have people who are doing it for a business reason, and then the only reason they do it for a business reason if there's a big enough talent attached to it where they're going to be guaranteed a return. You know, and this is and it's a very close shop in that sense. But I mean, would you based on all that what we've talked about, would you do anything different in regards to being an actor, writer?
I don't know. I honestly don't think I can. I mean, at times when I think, you know, them occasions where I went for script meetings and I was taking the piss, I probably shouldn't have took the piss. But I'm a big believer in sort of things happening for a reason, and things, you know what I mean? And I cannot reiterate how important it is to know that I've been fairly balanced in my life, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of really talented people who are nutcases, you know what I mean?
Neil, appreciate you coming, your time, everything else. Good luck with Waterloo Road.
Thank you, man.
You know, and the writing, and let's see if we can get something funded.
Let's do it, eh?
Yeah,
Let's do it, baby.
Exactly. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.